Hello FPL managers, today we're going to be rating some more first drafts. In today's video, we go over 5 drafts that you guys have sent in to us on Twitter and discuss them based on a bunch of criteria and also give them an overall score out of 10. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe as we're trying to hit 8k subs by the start of the new Premier League season, and with that being said, let's get into the video. So having a look at the first draft sent in to us, this one was by Guppy Fish. In goals, he's gone with Alisson, who is currently the second highest owned keeper in FPL, only behind Edouard Mendy. I can see why a lot of managers are going for him, as Liverpool have a very strong defence and have good fixtures to suit in the first 5. Furthermore, he was the highest scoring keeper last season with 176 total points, so it will be interesting to see how he starts. At £5.5 million though, he's probably a little bit pricey, so I will be looking for a slightly cheaper keeper. In the defence though, it is 5 very premium defenders with Cancelo, Trent, Reece James, Doherty and Perisic. It's interesting to see that double up on the Spurs defence, which is something that I haven't seen so far from many FPL managers, so it could prove very fruitful if they can rack in those clean sheets. Of course, under Antonio Conte, Spurs did have a very solid defence, and both these wing backs should offer very good attacking potential. Looking around the defence though, the picks of Cancelo, Trent and Reece James are 3 very solid options, and all 3 of them are the highest owned defenders currently. So overall amongst the defence, a very strong side with a range of defences there, with Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea and Spurs all featuring. But with this premium defence though, the midfield does lack a little bit, with just 3 starting midfielders at the moment, being Salah, Martinelli and Foden. I do like the pick of Foden in midfield at 8 million, as I think he could be a seriously good differential. Him and Mahrez, both at £8 million, look to be great assets for City and could make good starts. Foden does have some very good stats per 90, so if he can string together some starts for Man City over the first 5 weeks, he's going to be racking in those points. Martinelli is another good differential with just a 14% ownership currently in the midfield, and I can see him making a good start, assuming that he starts for Arsenal, as their first 5 fixtures are awesome. And of course, the very popular pick of Mo Salah on captaincy is one that you can't really pass up on, and is probably the most essential FPL asset. For the forwards now, it is the likely Erling Haaland, who is a nice pick at 11.5 million, and is also currently the highest owned player in FPL. He still has a 5% higher ownership than the likes of Mo Salah, and in the forward line he is accompanied by Callum Wilson. Wilson is also a very good differential, as at his price he can provide very good points, especially with good starting fixtures highlighted by Nottingham Forest at home. So overall this side ranks an 8 out of 10 for premiums, with the 2 premiums of Salah and Haaland. The first 5 fixtures have been well targeted by this manager as well, with the double up on Spurs and triple up on Liverpool and Man City. The squad depth does lack a little bit though, as the bench does leave a little bit to be desired, as the starting 11 is very strong. Also, I do like the differentials of Wilson, Foden, Martinelli and Doherty, so overall this team scores an 8 out of 10. On to the second draft now. This one was sent in by Hitman Phil. He's another draft that's gone big at the back with 5 starting defenders as well as Ederson in goals. Ederson is an interesting pick at £5.5 million and is actually the 4th highest owned keeper at the moment, with a 13.7% ownership. Ederson of course will be getting lots of clean sheets, but only recorded 4 save bonus points across the entirety of last season, so definitely one that's only going to be scoring clean sheet points. In the defence, he's gone with the 3 premiums of Alexander-Arnold, Cancelo and Chilwell, which are 3 premiums that we currently have in our team and I really like. He's gone with the slightly cheaper options of Tomiyasu and Trippier in there as well, who I also think are nice picks for their price. To the midfielders now, he's gone with the interesting picks of Salah and Sterling as his premiums, as Sterling isn't one that I've seen in too many drafts so far since his move to Chelsea. But I can definitely see the increase in appeal of him, as he's going to be getting more starting minutes, and it'll be interesting to see how he slots into their team. Overall, the rest of the midfield is fairly premium, with Luis Diaz and Saka both priced at £8 million there, so overall a very strong midfield, capped off with Gabriel Jesus in the forward line. Jesus is the 2nd highest owned forward with over a 50% ownership, and looks to be a nice pick after making a good start in pre-season. So for the premiums of Salah and Sterling, I've given this a 7 out of 10, slightly lower than the likes of Salah and Haaland, as I'm not too sure how Sterling's going to go. The first 5 fixtures do look very strong with this team, as Arsenal and Liverpool have seen a triple up, as both these teams have some excellent fixtures to start the year, as well as Man City, who's also tripled up on. Looking towards the bench, though, the squad depth isn't the strongest, as he only has the 1 playing defender in Andreas Pereira, and the differentials only score a 6 out of 10, as this is a fairly template team outside of Raheem Sterling. So overall this team scores a 7 out of 10. Looking at the third draft, this one was sent in by Steve H. He's also gone with Edison in goals, which does make it 2 out of the 3 goalkeeper picks being Edison. As we've touched on before, he's a great one to capitalise on those clean sheets, which it looks like he is doing here as he doesn't have any Man City starting defenders. Speaking of his defence, he's gone with Trent and Reece James to tick off those Liverpool and Chelsea defenders, and then Trippier and Cash as well. Trippier and Cash are 2 fairly high owned players at £5 million, and both have decent starting fixtures to make a good run. To the midfielders now, I do like the differential picks of St. Maximin and Marcus Rashford in there, as especially after Rashford getting himself a goal in pre-season, it looks to be an increasingly solid option. Of course, Salah and Luis Diaz are 2 very popular picks, as those 2 are the highest owned midfielders respectively, with a 58 and 31% ownership. In the forward line, he's gone with the popular picks of Haaland and Jesus as well, which are 2 very solid forwards that should perform very well early on. And looking at his bench, it's fairly promising as well, with Nico Williams there, should be starting at £4 million for Forest, and Andreas Pereira, who should be getting starting minutes for Fulham as well. So with the premiums of Salah and Haaland, we've given these an 8 out of 10, and the first 5 fixtures also look decent as well. We have scored a 7 out of 10, as Newcastle and Aston Villa's fixtures do have a slightly mixed bag. Overall, the squad depth is fairly promising with a 7 out of 10 with 2 playing defenders there, and the differentials rank 8 out of 10 with the likes of St. Maximin and Rashford in that midfield. Progressing on to the 4th draft now, this one was sent in by FPL Bruno G. Looking towards the goalkeeper, Edison now features for the 3rd time out of 4 drafts so far, with Alisson being the other one, which is quite interesting to see many managers going for these £5.5 million keepers. This is especially interesting as he already has Cancelo starting in the defence, alongside Trent, Chilwell, Perisic and Trippier. Speaking of these 5 starting defenders, it is a very big at the back draft with 5 very solid options. All these players have some very good attacking potential and the decent fixtures to make a good start, so I am expecting this defence to rack in the points for him. But as is typical with the 5 defender drafts, the midfield has taken a little bit out of it, with just 3 starting midfielders. Salah, Luis Diaz and Neto are this man's picks in the middle of the park. Obviously Salah and Diaz we've touched on before, 2 fairly high owned very solid options, and Pedro Neto at £5.5 million to free up a little bit of money. Pedro Neto also has some good fixtures as Wolves face the likes of Leeds, Fulham, Spurs, Newcastle and Bournemouth as their first 5 opponents, so definitely a nice pick at his price to get a couple of points to start the year. And in the forward line, it is the likely picks of Jesus and Haaland, who have also touched on before. They do seem to be a very popular strike combination as the highest and second highest owned forward options respectively. In fact, Gabriel Jesus nearly has a higher ownership than the likes of Mo Salah at the moment, only being picked by him by around 1.5%. To the bench now, it is not the worst with Andreas Pereira and Colback featuring there, both 4.5 players that should be starting for their teams, but not too much attacking potential from either. So overall, this draft scores an 8 out of 10 for premiums with a combination of Salah and Haaland, and has some fairly solid first 5 fixtures, with a triple up on Liverpool and a triple up on Man City. The squad depth does score a 6 out of 10 as the bench options of Andreas Pereira and Colback are decent, and the differentials just score a 6 out of 10 as this is a fairly template team outside of Edison in goals, who is the 4th most popular pick, and maybe Ben Chilwell on that defence. So overall with these rankings, this draft scores a 7. And this brings us to our 5th and final draft sent in by FPL Marks. His draft is the first one to feature a budget keeper, with Raya coming in at £4.5 million, which I probably do slightly prefer to the £5.5 million keepers. This has allowed him to spend extra money on that defence, which is very premium with the likes of Trent, Robertson, Chilwell, Laporte and Trippier. Overall, I do really like these 5 starting defenders, and especially the double up with Trent and Robertson. Both the fullbacks there could be racking in those points. Onto the midfield, it is a fairly strong midfield as well, with Salah, Foden, Sancho and Martinelli featuring. I do like the differentials of Foden, Sancho and Martinelli as well, as I think those are 3 players that have been overlooked by quite a few managers, especially with good starts by Sancho to his pre-season. Salah of course is the obvious pick, and he has actually given Salah the vice-captaincy armband, as Kane is currently his captain in the forward line. Southampton at home is a great fixture for Harry Kane to make a good start to the year, and I do think he's being overlooked at £11.5 million to his counterpart in Haaland at the same price. With just a 15% ownership at the moment, I do believe Harry Kane could be a very strong differential pick. And as always, with a very strong starting 11, his bench does leave a little bit to be desired, with Andreas Pereira being the only guaranteed starter. Overall, this team ranks fairly strong with an 8 out of 10 for premiums with Salah and Kane, and the first 5 fixtures do look promising for the squad, ranking 8 out of 10 as well. The squad depth does leave a bit to be decided with Andreas Pereira there on the bench, but the differentials do rank very strong, getting a 9 out of 10 with the likes of Kane, Foden, Sancho, Martinelli, Robertson, Chilwell and Laporte. So overall this team nearly ranks up a score of 8 out of 10, scoring 7.8. Thanks for watching today's video. If you guys want to become a channel member, then click the join button down below and get featured on the members board at the end of the videos, just like Philip Ash here. Also, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to show support for the channel and click the notification bell. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one.